Well, day two of Royal Ascot is over and done with, and we saw some brilliant racing with Frankie Dettori finally breaking his duck on Gregory. Gregory was my nap of the day also, so it just makes it a little bit sweeter. I will briefly talk about day two before I get on to day three, where hopefully we can land 3 out of 3 naps of the week so far. But the first race, the Queen Mary, was won by the American horse Crimson Avocade. This was a typical American horse at Royal Ascot, made all very, very fast and just held on from the rallying relief rally for William Haggis. Relief Rally, it'd be a horse I'd be keeping on the right side on, and I can imagine she'll be going to a race like the Lowther at York. I think that would be just up her street. The second race, the Kensington Palace, this was won by Villanova Queen. This is a first Royal Ascot win for Colin Keane, very good Irish jockey. I really do rate him, so that's good for him to finally get off the mark. The third race, the Duke of Cambridge, this was won by Rogue Millennium for Tom Clover and getting Danny Tudhope off the mark for Royal Ascot 2023. Danny is a jockey who rides Ascot very well. He's got a great record here. He held on from Random Harvest, one of Lady Bamford's, for Safi Osborne, well clear of the 3 co-favourites, Prosperous Voyage, Jumbly and Grand Dam. So Rogue Millennium, she was a very game winner of the Duke of Cambridge. The main race of the day, the fourth race, was the Prince of Wales Stakes, and there was some very good horses in this. There was Luxembourg, there was Baybridge, there was Adiyar, some of the best horses on the planet, and they were made to look moderate by Mostadaf. This horse blew them away. Lovely, lovely dark bay by Frankel, trained by John and Tady Gosden. It's likely this horse will go straight to the Juddmonte International. John Gosden, in his interview after the race, said that the Coral Eclipse would probably come a little bit too soon for him, and a lot of people imagined that would be the obvious race. But Mostadaf, it's likely he'll go to the Juddmonte International at York, and it'll be quite interesting to see when these horses meet again, to see if he can run the same. Whether the other horses were running below par or he was just freakishly above par, that would be very interesting to see them match up again. The Royal Hunt Cup, this was the cavalry charge of the week, over a mile. A brilliant day for Chelsea Thoroughbreds. Jimi Hendrix won the race up the far side of the track, and they had the second in the race with Sonny Liston. He came up the stand side of the track. The draw bias at Ascot, in my opinion, obviously, as I've mentioned, Jimi Hendrix came up the far side, so that is the low numbers. I think the place to be is the stand side where the second came, because even though Jimi Hendrix won the race, the horses on the far side of the group, the rest of them were nowhere near the horses on the stand side. So I think it was a very, very good performance from Jimi Hendrix. Jimmy will be looking down, singing Voodoo Child, watching his horse win at Ascot. But my best each way bet of the day, while he was third at 14-1, he got very, very well backed in the end. I think he went off around 7-1 second favourite. But he ran a good race, lost nothing in defeat, and you have to be proud of him. The race after that was the Queen's Vase, where my nap of the day ran. Gregory under Frankie Dettori, a brilliant, brilliant front-running ride. Gregory was a horse I was very keen on because last time out at Goodwood he did so much wrong but also looked so impressive. With around a furlong and a half to go, Oisin Murphy, who still hasn't had a winner this week, came rallying on St George, and I thought St George would have gone past Gregory, but Gregory found a little bit more, and he must have knew I'd have napped him up because he was well needed today. And the final race of the day was the Windsor Castle, won by Big Evs, trained by Mick Appleby, ridden by Jason Hart. Jason is a very, very good jockey in sprints, and this horse went off at a frantic gallop, and I was quite surprised he galloped through the line like he did. It was like an American horse winning the race. And Mick Appleby, after the race, said he'd been working very well and worked with Anaf, who was obviously third in the King's Stand, yes, on day one. So if we knew that, I think he'd have gone off a little bit shorter than 20-1. But very good to see. Lovely stable winning the race. And Big Evs, I don't think he would have been disgraced in tomorrow's Norfolk. Obviously, that was the Windsor Castle. That was a listed race. And the first race tomorrow is the Windsor Castle over the same course and distance, over 5 furlongs. It's a Group 2, so generally, usually a little bit better horses go into this race. And the first horse I will be talking about is a horse which has been hyped up. This horse has been talked about a lot recently. This is Elite Status. Elite Status won first time up at Doncaster. There was a lot of vibes about him that day for the very much so informed Carl Burke. And then he went on to the National Stakes at Sandown and made classy 2-year-olds look moderate. So that was, he couldn't have done any better that day. I think he goes into this race with a great chance. He's the obvious horse to beat. He's got the form. He's done it on the track. We know what he's like. He's a speed demon. Another horse I would like to talk about. This is drawn on the far side, so on the far side wing. This is American Rascal. This is one of Wesley Ward's, which he sends over from the States. And this horse is very eye-catchingly bred, so it's by Curling, and it is out of the Queen, which is Lady Aurelia. She does not need an introduction, especially when talking about Ascot. So, don't know much about the American runner, but Wesley Ward, and especially as how she is bred, he's bred. It cannot be discounted. The American horse, which is American Rascal. Another horse I would just like to quickly mention, two more, and these horses are both big prices, both around the 20-1 mark. This is Mond Sleeve. This is a horse of Kevin Ryan's, ridden by Tom Eves. Kevin does not like to prime them and get them 100% ready and revved first time up, but this horse won first time out at York, and it ran a Racing Post figure of 90, ran very well that day. And for Kevin to have a winner so impressive like that on debut could just show that there might be a little bit more in the tank. And another horse I would like to mention is last year's Winning Connections. They won the race with the Riddler. This is Malk, trained by Richard Fahey, ridden by Oisin Orr, and this horse won at Carlisle, running a figure in the high 80s first time up, and I think he could run well, appreciating the stiff 5 furlongs, just like he appreciated Carlisle the first time he ran. The second race I would like to talk about, this is the King George V Stakes. This is over 1.5 miles for 3-year-olds only. This is the kind of race I'd like to talk about trends. So there's 20 runners in the race. Sorry, there's been one non-runner so far. So there's 19 runners in the race. The top 2 rated are 104 and 97. And no horse has won this race in the last 20 years over a mark of 94. And no horse either has won this race from a stall lower than number 5. Obviously, 1.5 miles, they're all trying to get that nice position going into Swinley Bottom. And to try and get that, it's going to be a lot of scrimmaging early on. You're going downhill, and these 3-year-olds might be a little bit green too. But I'd like to quickly touch on 3 horses. It's not a race I will be getting too involved in, but these 3 horses fit the trends. The first one is Perfuse. This is in the Juddmonte colours for Sir Michael Stout and Richard Kingscote. This horse has won his last 2 races. He's an improver, and he could be very well handicapped off 94. The next horse I'd like to talk about is number 7. This is drawn 12. The first one was drawn 10. This is drawn 12. This is Wonder Legend. This is one of James Ferguson's. This horse won at Doncaster on soft ground last time out and looked very, very impressive. He could be well in still off 94. But the horse I'd be very keen on if he was drawn a little bit higher. This is Burglar for John and Paddy Gosden, for Frankie Dettori. This horse won first time out at, where did he win first time out? He won on the all-weather at Lingfield first time out, and then he's ran since. He finished 3rd, and then he won another race at Redcar. And I think this horse is on the improve, and he could just be chucked in off a mark of 92. But again, this is not a race I would like to be getting too involved in, but it's the kind of race I like to try and stick to my trends on. The third race of the day, this is a filly in this race I've been very sweet on ever since her debut. If you watched an episode a few weeks ago, I banged on about this horse after making her debut at Haydock. I said, quote my words, I said, I know a nice horse when I see one, and this is definitely a nice horse, trained by the masters, John and Thady Gosden. This is Alasifa. She has ran since her impressive debut at Haydock. She went to Goodwood. She was even more impressive. She won a listed race and she made good class horses look moderate. She was very, very impressive at Goodwood that day, and she deserves to be the favourite for this race. And I'm going to be short and simple. I'm not going to waste trying not to waste much time on the other 18 runners, because I think Alasifa will win this race. She's much clear on the ratings, and I struggle to see past her. Alasifa, she's my nap of the day tomorrow. Hopefully we can make it 3 out of 3. Race 4 tomorrow, the main race of the week, the Ascot Gold Cup. This is a very competitive Ascot Gold Cup. We have just come out of course, the Stradivarius era. He is now enjoying his retirement at stud. I can imagine he's been a very busy boy, as he much deserves to be after he was such a heroine in this race over the years. And when Stradivarius retired, a lot of people expected Trushan to go and take his crown, and he's run twice this year, and he's gone off the favourite both times, and he hasn't managed to do that, unfortunately, so far. But this is the first run since his wind-up. I am not telling you he's going to run tomorrow, because he has, believe it or not, I had to look this up myself, but this horse, Trushan, has never ran in an Ascot Gold Cup. For a horse who's been at this level for so many years, it's very surprising indeed. But he's never ran in an Ascot Gold Cup, and that is because of the ground. He's a horse who loves soft ground, and we're not going to get soft ground tomorrow. If Connections decide to run him, they decide to run him, but I'll be quite surprised if they do. It's good to see old Subjectivist running in this race. He won this race back in 2021. He's only raced twice since, both of them in the Middle East this spring, and as you can see, I have changed scenery. Unfortunately, halfway through talking about Subjectivist, I picked up a couple of technical difficulties. But yes, Subjectivist, he won this race back in 2021 under a memorable ride from the front from Joe Fanning. And unfortunately, he picked up an injury after that and has only been seen twice since, and that was both runs this spring over in the Middle East, and he was entitled to need them 2 runs, and hopefully he can run well. Joe Fanning, he's 52 years young, and he is joint top jockey at the moment with Oisin Murphy. Oisin Murphy is, of course, yet to get off his duck this year, and he rides Coltrane, the favourite, in the Gold Cup tomorrow. Hopefully he can run a big race, but this horse, again, is a big improver for Andrew Balding. This horse was once a handicapper, and he got better and better and better as he got older. He's like a fine wine. He's 6 years old now, and I'll be expecting him to run well. But he beat Trushan in the Cigaro last time out. He was a very impressive winner of the Cigaro last time out at Ascot, and he is a well-deserved favourite. It's not a race I will be having a bet in, but I'll be watching with great enthusiasm. The race after the Gold Cup is the Britannia Stakes. This is over the straight mile for 3-year-olds only, and I fancy a horse called Ben Acre in this for the Charlie Johnson stable, ridden by Jamie Spencer. This horse has ran 3 times this year. Last year he was I wouldn't say moderate, but he was a handicapper, and I think this year he can do better than handicaps. He's run at Newcastle, Newmarket, and over in Germany this year. His last run in Germany was a little bit below form, but travelling over, he's only a 3-year-old. You can sometimes forgive them for running a little bit below par. But his race at Newmarket is one I'd like to talk about, because he was second to a horse called Should Have Been a Ring, and Should Have Been a Ring has since gone on to finish second to no other than Little Big Bear. So Little Big Bear is obviously not a handicapper. He's a proven Group 1 horse, and I think this horse could be quite well handicapped going into this under Jamie Spencer. He's drawn up the stand side, so hopefully Jamie can do and do one of his magical showpieces up the stand side, taking the danger route and run a big race. But this horse should not be 28 to 1. Of course, there's plenty of runners, so you'll be able to get some nice places depending which bookmaker you bet with. But I think Ben Acre has a great chance going into the Britannia. Race 6 is the Hampton Court. This is a Group 3. There is only one filly in the race, and this is a filly called Carnarvon, and she was third in no other than the Epsom Oaks last time out. She was second to Soul Sister and Save the Last Dance, and she wasn't just third, she was a fairly close third, well clear of fourth. In fact, she's the highest rated horse in this field, and I do not think she should be 11 to 1. She's also getting a 3-year-old's weight allowance. Yes, she's dropping down in trip from 1.5 miles to 1.25 miles, but again, she's drawn on the outside over the round course at Ascot. I don't like to be drawn too much to the rail because there's always a lot of scrimmaging trying to get that nice position on Swinley Bottom, and she's drawn on the outside. I think she's drawn 10, and I think Connor Beasley will make things simple for her, and I think she'll run a big race, and at 11 to 1 I cannot be ignoring her. The final race on day 3 is the Buckingham Palace Stakes. This is the kind of race I would like to try and look at trends on, which weight, what draw horses have come from. But this race has only been ran 3 times in the past, and it was won once by a very famous filly, no other than Highfield Princess. Look what she has gone on to do since in the last couple of years. But I would like to talk about a horse called Roscollon. This horse, in his last 5 runs, he has got 4 duck eggs against his name, so he hasn't been in the best form, but he was third in this race last year off a £10 higher mark. He's owned by a couple of very, very shrewd lads. With the horse watchers, he's trained by the very good David O'Meara. He's very good with horses in these kind of races and big field handicappers, etc. But Roscollon, he's been very, very well backed, and I think he could run a good race. He was third in this race off £10 higher. If he matches that form last year, I think he could run well. Another horse I will briefly mention is Lear Special. This horse has been on the improve, the son of Prince of Lear. He won at Kempton last time out, and if he improves from time to time, and again if he improves at Ascot tomorrow, I think he'll run a big race. But I will just quickly talk to you about my best 3 selections of the day. Obviously, my nap, my next best, and my best each way bet. My best each way bet is Ben Acre in the Britannia at 28 to 1. Lots of runners in the race. You'll get plenty of places depending on which bookmaker you are using. My next best is the Speed Demon, which is, of course, elite status. I think he will run a fantastic race tomorrow. He deserves to be the favourite, and I think he'll run well. And my nap, hopefully, let's not jinx it, let's make it 3 out of 3. I think Alasifa will win the Ribblesdale tomorrow. She is a lovely filly, lovely daughter of Frankel, and hopefully she can go and do the business. But if you go into Royal Ascot tomorrow, have a great time, win a few quid, and have a few drinks on me. Thank you very much.